everybody, it's Christina Holloway here, and today we're going to talk about self-awareness. What is it? What does it look like? And how you can develop even further in your ability to be aware of your behavior and your attitudes and your assumptions when you're at work. Real quick, my name is Christina Holloway, and I'm an executive coach. I help people develop effective communication toolkits to manage difficult situations as they build their careers in the corporate workplace. If you enjoy this content and you'd like to learn more, please feel free to hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and hit the notification bell so you never miss a video from me. All right, so today we're going to talk about self-awareness. And this requires us to understand what it means to be aware of ourselves when we're in the workplace specifically. So there are 4 areas where I'm going to focus, and most of it is about how we want to show up self-aware as a leader. So this is a little bit about executive presence as well. And those areas where I'm going to focus have to do with understanding who you are as a leader, understanding how you want to be seen as a leader, understanding what different types of leadership are out there and where you align yourself, and then understanding how people are seeing you now, and if there is a gap between how you wanted to show up and how people actually are perceiving you. All right, so let's get started. Number 1, what is your leadership style? What type of leadership methods do you identify with? Now, my favorite article is an article from Harvard Business Review by Manfred F.R. de Vries, and he wrote about the 8 archetypes of leadership. What I found interesting about this article is that he identifies 8 different methodologies, different ways that we can show up as a leader and figure out which one or combination of leadership styles resonates with us. And so the article goes into the different types of ways that you could identify yourself as a leader. For example, the leader as a strategist, the leader as a change catalyst, the leader as a transactor or someone who makes deals, the leader as a builder, entrepreneur, the leader as an innovator, a leadership in creative idea generation, the leader as a processor, the leader as a coach, and the communicator. Once you figure out which one of your leadership styles comes most naturally to you, or a combination of them, then you have a better idea of identifying who you are when you show up in the workplace. A little bit about self-awareness has more to do with understanding that the way you interact with other people impacts how they respond to you. Now, if you're trying to develop your own self-awareness, part of this is to look around you and ask, is there a moment where I may have had a blind spot around how I showed up and how I behaved and how it may have affected the people around me? And the first chance you get is to understand what your leadership style is. Now, these leadership styles that Manfred F.R. de Vries outlines in his article have more to do with style and less to do with impact. Once you identify with it, you start to realize this is the way I show up and this is who I am. Identification of who you are and how you like to lead is the first step in making sure you understand where your self-awareness needs to evolve. Number 2, your leadership persona. So what kind of leader are you right now? So we're going to identify the gap. Who do you aspire to be in the leadership style? And what's your persona right now? So for example, you might be a person who learned through your own career that management through fear is the only way to get productivity, and you won't get response from people. And in that space, you'd have to learn, is the way I'm dealing with problems or the way I'm dealing with people effective? And this takes some reflection, and it takes our ability to ask questions. Do people respond well to me? Do people walk away from me? Do they copy other people when they're responding with me to create a paper trail? Are people happy to collaborate with me, or do they not want to work with me particular? Are there some people who just decide they'd rather work with someone else? Get a read from the room to figure out exactly who you're dealing with and whether they gravitate toward you or they pull away from you. Number 3, leadership authority. How do others see you as a leader? Now, let's say, for example, I said leadership as a coach is important to me, and I feel like that's my natural strength. But I do also want to know if the people working under me see me that way as well. Are they starting to realize or recognize me as, yeah, you know what, you are a leadership as a coach? How do they know that? Because I ask open-ended questions. I drive them to their own solutions. I encourage them to move to specific space, or I encourage them to find their strengths. Leadership in a coaching space isn't just about me identifying myself as that, but it's also how do I act? And am I acting in the role that I picked for myself as my leadership style? Now, they may come back to me and say, no, you're a bully. They may say, no, you don't encourage us. You tend to tear us down in order to make us more productive. Then I'm starting to realize there's a gap. Whatever my assumptions and attitudes were toward what leadership looks like, or what I was taught, is not reflective of what I think leadership as a coach is supposed to be. If you find that the feedback you're getting just from asking simple questions around you, or even reading the room, which is how other people are interacting with you, is starting to reflect that the way you behave isn't really reflective of the assumptions you make about yourself inside, then there's a disconnect. And you do need to ask, what would it take to start acting as leader as a coach, for example? Or you can pick any one of these other ones. Leader as a processor, leadership as an exercise in efficiency. So, if I thought that I was the most efficient person, I'll say this. If you think you're a leader in efficiency, there's a high likelihood you can overcompensate for it and become a micromanager or a perfectionist. So if I showed up and said, I really appreciate leadership as efficiency, so that it might be related to program management or project management, but I overcompensate by really getting up in other people's business and trying to make them do things the way I expect them to do it, and I don't allow them a level of autonomy to get the job done the way they would do it themselves to the best of their abilities, and I overcompensate for that by micromanaging and leaning into perfectionism, there's a huge gap between where I think I'm being effective and efficient and where others see me as being controlling and overbearing. Have the courage to ask some questions. Have the courage to ask the people around you, how are you working effectively with me? And have the courage to ask. I've identified myself as someone who's a leader in process, somebody who really likes efficiency. Someone could respond, oh yeah, I know. I can see it, yeah. Or they could say, yeah, but to a certain extent, you cross the line sometimes. Honest feedback is going to make a big difference on whether you are leaning in the right way or you're leaning into your blind spots or your insecurities. An effective part of leadership and self-awareness is understanding when you don't want to overcompensate, especially if you feel vulnerable in a specific situation. Understand how the people around you can help you and elevate you, and not necessarily how you can dominate them and control them in order to control the outcome, right? Because this is a bigger reflection of insecurity and less a reflection of leadership. And number 4, your leadership brand. How do you want to be seen as a leader? We have collected some information here. We have identified our leadership style. We've looked around to see how we're acting today, and we've looked around to see how others are receiving our leadership. So how do they see us as a leader? And now here, when we look at the difference between the two, how do I want to be seen as a leader? So if, for example, I want to be seen as a processor in efficiency, then I have to ask myself, what gaps in my skills should I now start to develop so that I can start showing up the way those people need me? It is always about asking this question when the people around you, those working alongside you, those working below you, and those who are working above you, need to be able to communicate with you. And that moment that you can say, what do you need from me in order to be successful? You can say that to your boss. You can say that to your peers. You can say that to your team. How do I need to show up with my set of unique leadership skills in order for you to feel like you can do your job successfully? And if I'm leader as a coach, they might say, I could really use direction or advice in this area as I continue to grow my skills. If I'm a leader in process efficiency, they might tell me, I could really use your frameworks. There's a difference between someone coming to me as a person who's really tight on efficiency and they say, I like your frameworks and I'd like to work with you on those frameworks, versus I could really use a lot of micromanagement right now. No one is going to tell you that. They're not going to tell you they need excessive amounts of supervision in order to do their job, especially if they're an experienced person. I did create a video here about understanding who your team players are. You have A team, B team, and C team, and you have to understand how to lead them in the different spaces where they are. All right, so that's it for this video on understanding what your level of self-awareness is in the workplace, understanding the 4 areas that you should look at in order to continue to evolve who you are as a leader and how you can show up more evolved as you go. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed this content. Again, please feel free to subscribe. Please feel free to hit the like button, and please feel free to hit the notification bell so you never miss a video from me. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.